Hello there everybody, how's it going? It's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on FlossTube, and I am coming to you on this Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024 with my next WIP update. So it's been a little over 2 weeks since my last update, and so here we are, back again, back to talk about some stitching. Before I get into everything though, I would like to say welcome. Welcome to both my returning viewers as well as perhaps anybody who's checking my channel out for the first time. Thanks for spending part of your day with me. FlossTube, you are spoiled for choice, and so choosing to spend time with me means a lot. On this channel, I talk mostly about cross stitch, though sometimes I will talk about books and knitting when it is relevant. My husband is home for lunch, and so I have a limited window here, so we're just sticking to the stitching today. And in fact, we're even paring that down to literally just a WIP update. It's been a little over 2 weeks, like I said, and by the end of this week, I'm not only going to have all of the projects that I have worked on since the beginning of January, but also my plans for February, since we do the WIP Go draws here in the middle of this week. And so I thought that I would try to break it up. I know that some of y'all, Joni, I'm looking at you, who miss my long videos, and I miss being able to do the long videos, but it's just not feasible for me right now. And so I thought that I would try to break it up. So today is literally just a WIP update. This is just the projects that I have worked on since my last video. And then at the end of this week, maybe during the weekend, I plan to come back. So a very fast turnaround, talk about the projects that I've worked on since today, and then also talk about my plans for February, because some things are coming together for February. So we'll talk about that at another date. Since I mentioned I'm on a bit of a limited window here today, I probably should stop talking about what I'm going to talk about and just start showing you some projects, start showing you the things that I have worked on since my last update in the beginning of January. So let's get into it. Let's talk about some WIPs. Okay, so when last we spoke, I was working on a project that lives in this project bag. This is by Stitch and Button, Vicky over at Stitch and Button. Her Facebook group is always linked in the description box of my videos because I'm a frequent flyer and I love Vicky's bags. So what lives in here, frequent flyer, you get it? What lives in here is Grief Knows No Bounds. This is by collectively, they are referring to themselves as the Stitchers for Peace Initiative. It is a collaborative effort between 5 fantastic folks. We have Miriam of Marumi Designs, Crafty Yams, Aya Rosen, Michelle Bendy Stitchy Designs, and Yasmin's Made with Love. And so they collectively came together to design this piece. And so preview here of what this will look like finished. And here is the progress that I have made thus far on Grief Knows No Bounds. I only worked on this for a little bit more, I think maybe that day, if memory serves, and it's not exactly coming back to me immediately. But I know that I spent some more time on this after my last video. That day, perhaps some of the next day, the details are fairly irrelevant here. This is phenomenal. This is beautiful. I love stitching this. I did not want to stop. He did not want to stop. This is on a 40 count Newcastle linen from Color & Cotton in the colorway. I am stalling to try to remember, but I can't, and I don't think I have the tag in my bag here. So I will put it on the screen. The colorway, it was a fabric of the month at one point or another. I'm stitching this using the called for DMCs. The only exception is the black. I have subbed for Anchor Black, and I have started on the Palestinian Sunbird here. I have also stitched some of the river and some of the sea, and the first line of the poem that circles around the border. So the first line here is in Farsi. So yeah, I could have spent a ton more time on this, but I felt like with the plans that I have for my stitching this year, I had to get going. So this piece got 1,500 stitches, a little just over 1,500 stitches, and I put it down. My unofficial goal is that for all of my pieces that I work on that are not full coverage, I'm aiming for 1,500 stitches. And then my full coverages, I'm aiming for 4,000. So this one got its 1,500. I hope to be able to work on it again. As I mentioned, I needed to get going with my plans. And in my last video, I told you that after Grief Knows No Bounds, I was going to start working on Personal Sunshine by Heaven and Earth Designs. The artist is Jeremiah Ketner. Jeremiah Ketner is no longer an artist with Heaven and Earth Designs, and so this is a retired pattern or out of print. But preview here of what this will look like finished. I worked on this in 2 separate rotations, and I think a sum total of 10 days. It feels like maybe less than that, maybe 8 days. I don't know. So the first rotation, I was working on page 13 down here. And as you can see, I got the page finished. So my quest for 24 page finishes in the year 2024 kicked off with page 13 here, which is about 2/3 of a standard HAED page. So that wasn't insignificant stitching. Sometimes these partial pages are practically nothing, but this one was substantial. So I worked on this pretty furiously, just highly motivated by the full coverage right now, and got that page finished. So then this last week, I came back to this piece and got started on page 4 here at the top. And let's see, the page finish down here took 3,800 stitches. My monthly goal for this piece is 5,500, and so I needed another 1,600 and change to complete the monthly goal. This is my piece that I have broken up into 12 this year. I took the remaining stitch count, which is a little over 66,000 at the beginning of the year. So that equated to about 5,500 stitches each month. And I am finding that stopping at 5,500 stitches might be one of the bigger struggles because I really wanted to keep going. I was in a good groove with it. I was making quick progress. I'm super motivated by it. So stopping when I'm feeling those things? But I know that I'll get there this year, so I'm not stressed about it. A part of me felt like, well, since I'm feeling highly motivated, and inevitably at some point this year I'm not going to feel so motivated, that maybe getting ahead would be worthwhile, but I'm trying to stick to the plan as best I can. So that is where I got to with this one. If I didn't mention it before, this is 25 count antique white Lugana from Zweigart. It was never pre-gridded. This project was started in 2016 before the pre-gridded Lugana was like readily on the market, and certainly before I had ever stitched with it. Speaking of which, on the 17th, this piece turned 8 years old, so happy birthday, Personal Sunshine. Hopefully, as a WIP, it will not see its 9th birthday. I'm going to do my best. So that is where I'm up to. And in my before and afters, you're going to see before and after for each of the pages, and then overall, because in years past, my break it up into 12 piece, it's been really obvious to watch the progression. And since I stitch these pages in diagonals, it's not so obvious. It's not super clear unless you get to see the full view. So anyway, so that is Personal Sunshine, and this will come back in February, and I'm looking forward to it. It might be the first thing I work on next month. As mentioned in a previous video, I have operated with a wheel this month. And so once I reach the end of a rotation on something, I spin the wheel, and it has several options in there: full coverage WIP go, finish it WIP go, personal sunshine, the new starts that I've had planned, and my small monthly goal pieces. And so after I finished the rotation, the page 13 on personal sunshine, it spun finish it WIP go. And so I, from that point, decided to choose this piece because I thought I might be able to get it finished with a couple of days effort. And it was the first piece that I worked on in the new year, and I did indeed get the finish. So I don't have my cover. I'm not sure where I put it. So preview here of January by the Cricut Collection. This is in their monthly series, and I started this piece on January 1st, 2017, and finished it on January 14th, 2024. So here it is. Oh, it looks so good. This is a 28 count cachet linen in ice blue from Zweigart, just a plain linen, and it's finished. Whew. Finally. Yeah. So I'm gonna leave it up here so that y'all can look at it just a little bit. So with this one, that last 10%, I swear, is the hardest 10% of a project. I'll be honest. I don't love the starting 10%. I don't love the ending 10%. The middle 80%, that's my favorite part of a project. By the time I get to that final 10%, I am flabbergasted at how long it's taking me to get the thing finished. And frustration starts to sink in. And then I'm just furiously trying to get it done. And that's kind of what happened when I finished this. I didn't eat breakfast. I didn't eat lunch. I thought I was going to have it done in 2 hours, and 5 hours later, it was finally done. Now that I'm a few days removed from that, I can look at this and enjoy it. But that day I was like, oh, finally. Yeah. These are fairly simple designs, but then there's also a level of complexity. There's a lot of block stitching, and then there's a lot of fiddly stuff. There are 18 different colors of backstitch. The backstitch instructions are lengthy, shall we say. And then there's little bits and pieces that have to be taken care of and finalized. So with this one, it was charted a little bit differently than it should have looked. Mostly in the sun clock here. So this clock is meant to be, I believe, the darker shade of the sun, but it was charted with this dark gray. And the same is true with this dove here. The dove here is supposed to have, I think, a brown belly, not a gray belly. And so I stitched it according to the chart and then compared it to my cover and realized that there was something weird going on. So I had to change some of the backstitch plans so that the watch hands were visible. Speaking of the watch hands, this one is pseudo set to 112 because my daughter was born on January 12th. So 112. This little clock here above the R is set to 823. So 821. Confused. 821. So 2021 because she was born in 2021. And then this moon clock is set to 5:52 because she was born at 5:52 p.m. and I thought, well, 5:52 p.m. in January, it was awful dark, so moon clock for the time. Just a little bit of personalization there. I did end up moving the skating bird here to over here because I thought I was going to stick my signature up in here, but I ended up putting it here. For those who are unfamiliar, my signature stitch is a Jessica stitch with an S in the middle and the year in Roman numerals underneath it. So I had my first opportunity to do my signature this year. So that was pretty cool. XXIV for 24. And all done. There are some other things that I did differently than charted. There was, I think I needed a different color than was in my thread list to do the beaks for the birds. Not for the dove here, but for the other 3 birds. A different color than was in the thread list was called for that. And I was not pulling out a whole different thread for 6 back stitches to do these bird beaks. Nope. But other than that, it is close to the chart. Anyway, so excited to have my first finish of 2024, and in the first 2 weeks of the year, I'm pretty pleased, and that is all done. Hopefully the first of many finishes. As mentioned with this Tiny Decisions wheel, I have it set to non-repeating selections, and so I spun the wheel for this, and this time it pulled full coverage WIP Go. Since I had previously finished my other full coverage WIP Go piece of Quick Stitch Day and Night, since I had already reached that goal, this time it was time to work on Quick Stitch Once Upon a Fairy Tale 2. This is artwork by Amy Stewart. It is charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. This is easily my most difficult full coverage piece on the go. Between the confetti and the width of the piece, it is easily my most difficult. It's not my largest, but it is my second largest, added to those difficulties mentioned. And so this is the project that I kind of rearranged my WIP Go board to make it a little bit easier on myself. And I believe the goal for this one was dropped down to 2,500 stitches, so I got going on that. It took me 5 days for this one. By comparison, a few more stitches on Quick Stitch Day and Night took me 2 days less. So yeah, this one is definitely more difficult. But I had a lot of fun, believe it or not. I really did have a lot of fun working on this one. And I got to the bottom of the page, so I have my first threads here. Let's see if I can figure out the directions here. Parked in the page below, so that's really, really exciting. I do enjoy the confetti. I know that that's counterintuitive and a little bit opposite of what I just told you about how it makes it my most difficult, but I do really enjoy the confetti. I enjoy seeing some details come to life. These pops of yellow flowers have 87 colors in each of them. It's an exaggeration, but not far off. But I love it. I love the way that they're coming out, and I just love to see each of the bits and pieces come together as I work through the confetti. The confetti is why I enjoy parking. It's why I enjoy this diagonal blocks, because sometimes I get to a high confetti block and I already have all of the threads there waiting for me. I don't have to pull colors because they're all right there. I love it when that happens. So anyway, so like I said, 5 days and I got my WIP Go goal complete. So full coverage WIP Go done for the month of January. Pretty cool. So that is that. After I completed the goal on Quick Stitch Once Upon a Fairy Tale 2, I had cycled through my Tiny Decisions wheel completely. And so refresh, start over, spin the wheel again. It pulled Personal Sunshine. So I go back to Personal Sunshine, get page 4 started, and then I spin the wheel again this weekend. And that was the reason that I didn't film on Friday this week, because I was working on Personal Sunshine and so it was on the frame, and so you couldn't see page 13. And so I thought that I would just hold off until I got that page finished before filming. So anyway, so spin the wheel again on Saturday, and the next project that it pulled was from my Finish It WIP Go board. And so I call it my Finish It WIP Go board, but actually the goal is either 1,500 stitches progress, because like I said, my minimum for non-full coverage pieces is 1,500 this year, or the finish. And it just so happened that both of my calls for January are things that I think with some concentrated effort I could actually get finished. So I have struggled working on this piece, and I'm not sure why, because I am super motivated to get it done. I am excited about the finish. I enjoy stitching on the piece, but for whatever reason, I am struggling with this one. So this one is in a Q-snap because the plan is to work on it a little bit every day to see the finish by the end of the month, because I would like to get it done. I just want to get it done. And I am, since I have zoomed through a lot of my goals fairly quickly this month, I feel like I can spend the time to make that happen. So enough preamble. This is Horror Movie Alphabet by Clouds Factory. So this is on a 32 count Belfast linen in Lycan's Moon by Under the Sea Fabrics. And what you can see here is all that I have worked on. So when I last showed this to you, Jack Torrance was almost done. I still had his hatchet and his pants and feet to do. And then I stitched Unborn. And I love the way that Unborn turned out. And then I did the names for these four that I have done most recently. Jason Voorhees was done a long time ago. That one was one of the earlier ones that I stitched. So I did the names for Reagan, Samara, Jack Torrance, and Unborn. And then I worked my way down to the Xenomorph, who I really dislike how this was charted. I really do. I understand that they are all like front facing and you don't really catch what the Xenomorph is unless in profile. But I really dislike how this was charted. I didn't know what it was at first. And even you know, loving the Alien franchise, I still wasn't sure. I second guessed what Xenomorph was, but no, it's the Alien. So I understand the why, but I don't love the charting. I don't love the way it was organized. I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to rechart it. I'm just going to go with it. And so it is what it is. So this is Horror Movie Alphabet. And like I said, I've struggled working on this, and maybe it's my dislike of the Xenomorph at this point. Maybe that's part of it. But anyway, so my plan is about 150 stitches a day to see this finished by the end of the month. That's about what I have to do. And so that's the plan. That is the plan. So hopefully I will get this done. And who knows, maybe I'll go on a tear and just finish it one day. It won't be today, but anyway. Love this one. Super fun. I'm stitching this one with the called for DMCs, even the DMC 310, if you can believe it. So there's that. Okay, so I finish up. I make the decision to move Horror Movie Alphabet to my daily stitch, if you will, to see the finish by the end of the year. And so I needed to spin the wheel. And at this point, I had two things left on the wheel. A new start and my small monthly goals, because I had completed full coverage WIP Go. Horror Movie Alphabet was my last remaining Finish It WIP Go. Personal Sunshine was done, what have you. So it spun small monthly goal. And to be honest, the new start that I had planned, Santa's House, is on hold for a bit. As I've talked about, Christmas stitching for me right now, I'm not in the mood for it. And so I'm having difficulty trying to get the motivation to start something very obviously Christmas. And I have another new start that I will talk about at a later date that is going to happen later on in the month as a stitch along. And so I'm really geeked about that. So I think that Santa's house is off the table for now. And so from here on out until that new start, it's going to be small monthly goals. So I decided to go with one that I thought I could knock out pretty quickly. And it went way better than even I had planned. So that lives in this project bag. This is by Black Cat X Stitchery. And in here lives my monthly Quakers from the Heart Needleart by Wendy. So the one I was working on was April by from the Heart Needleart by Wendy. And so my small monthly goal for these pieces is a large motif plus. So my plan for that is to do one of the large motifs and some of the little ones. Some of these I was having a look through yesterday. Some of them don't have much in the way of small motifs, but they've got some giant big ones. So this one, this first large motif, whew, that one's a doozy. June doesn't have much in the way of small motifs. July is the same. Like, anyway, so that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this goes for the rest of the year. So I pulled out this piece to work on it for just the large motif. Let me pull back that cover page again. Where'd you go? There you are. I was part the way through this green motif. I didn't have the birds or the heart done yet. I think I had probably about a third of the green outside. So my plan was to do that motif and then 2 or all 3 of these little ones, with potentially saving the finish for next month. So what happened was, and if you've been on my Instagram in the last 24 hours, then you've seen this. I finished it. I just finished the whole Quaker. So these are I'm stitching them on 28 count antique white cashel linen 1/1. So I'm doing them tiny. And I am loving them tiny. I am loving stitching these 1/1 and tiny. There is enough detail that you can see it, but it's not getting muddy or anything like that. Sometimes when you shrink things down too much, you can lose some of it, but I think this is turning out really, really pretty. Okay, so I'm stitching these using the provided DMC conversion. They are all charted in, I believe, Classic Colorworks, and then Wendy provides the DMC alternatives. This is the first time where I did not love the DMC alternatives that Wendy provided, that if I was doing the substitutions myself, I might have chosen some different things, something more subtle for this pink and this green. I think they were just a little bit too strong for April, for one thing. And then in concert with this pale, soft, mossy green, I just thought that the contrast was I would have done different, shall we say. So anyway, I still love it. I still think it's pretty. I just would have chosen differently. I'm going to continue on using exactly the DMCs that Wendy says, and so be it. So, very exciting. Got this one finished. This one I started at StitchCon 2023, Weekend B, and then I worked on it a little bit for Arbitrary August. This was the piece that I took with me to Stitching in the Springs. So of the 11 days that it took me to stitch this, I think that 6 or 7 of them were spent in Ohio. So I'm going to call this the Ohio block because, for real, I mean, the majority of this was done in Ohio, which I think is just fun. You can see here the markings of my nurge. I have started using a nurge. This fits perfectly in, I'll put it here, the size of the nurge. I got a pack of 4, and it fits perfectly in the midst of one of those. So I'm going to continue on that path. I do enjoy the nurge stitching, and so yeah. So that is the April block, and so eventually I will get the May block started. So very cool. Oh, I have the nurge right here. It's in my project bag. How smart and convenient. So this is a number 2, 165 millimeters. And so that was finish number 2. I'm up to 2 finishes already this year. That's so cool. And I'm going to try to get a 3rd before the end of the month. To put that into perspective, I got 7 all of last year. So we are nearly half in the first month of the year. It is January, and January has approximately 4,000 days in it, as it feels like. So January is always the month where I just feel like I get so much more accomplished than the rest of the year. The rest of the year goes by in a blink. Anyway, so I reached that goal and decided to pull out my next small monthly goal piece for the month. And that lives in this fantastic project bag, also by Stitch and Button. And in here lives my beloved summer sampler. This is by the Cooler Design Studio. You can get the PDF for this on the Cooler Design Studio website. It was also a kit put out by Janlin that I think you can still find in the secondhand market for not a whole lot. However, the PDF goes into Pattern Keeper. Now, there are some things. This relies on an awful lot of backstitch, and as we all know, Pattern Keeper and backstitch, that's not a thing. This one also has some quarter stitches, and so you have to be careful with that. So just be mindful that if you decide to stitch one of these, according to the PDF with Pattern Keeper, it works. Just be mindful of some of those things. Pattern Keeper also doesn't do quarter stitches great, so just be wary. I love this. I love this on Pattern Keeper. I love this project. I have so much fun with this. So I'm going to show you this very briefly. I'm in the midst of my small monthly goal. My small monthly goal, that title is very much appropriate for this one, because the goal on this one is so small. It's terrible. So my goal here is 300 stitches. That's it, just 300 stitches. This is a more complex piece, and so I figured 300 stitches is something that I could reasonably get to in a day each month. My plan is, when I'm working on this on days that I'm not filming, I didn't plan this right, but anyway, when I work on this on days that I'm not filming, I'm going to do my 300 stitches and then perhaps work on some of the back stitch as a bonus, just to spend some more time with this piece because I love it so much, but the back stitch is also very extensive, so it'll be worthwhile to spend some time on it. Good grief, parked threads, Batman. That's the madness to my method. Get them reorganized. There we go. It's better. It's not great, but it's better. So, I love this. This piece makes me so happy. So this is on a 32 count cream Belfast linen from Swigart, and I am working on the camp sign. So over here. There won't be any before and afters this time, but there will be my next update. My progress is, I think I'm at like 150 stitches, and it just doesn't feel like it. It just doesn't feel like it. So I don't know. Do I increase the goal? Do I increase the small monthly goal? Or do I just stick with it because the focus is supposed to be on full coverage? I think that's probably what I have to do. That's probably the responsible thing to do. Because I'm still obsessed with full coverage. I'm still all about it. So maybe I just stick to the plan. Sweet Wheat doesn't work for me, so I have to do a plan, but also boo. Anyway, so that is the progress I have made so far on Summer Sampler. For somebody who does not like summer, and I mean, I am one of those people that does not like summer. I might even say I hate it. I really love that piece. I really, really love it. So there is that. So I have that to work on to reach my small monthly goal. And then I have 2 more small monthly goals, one of which I will never show. And the second is on touching the autumn sky. I still have to sort out whether I'm going to be able to frog my mess up or if I'm going to have to restart it. So that's going to be a plan for the next coming days. That's probably going to be the one that I work on starting tomorrow. So there is that. That is it for the WIPs, and that is it for the plans for the rest of this week. I feel like racing through and accomplishing my goals, my rather lofty goals, pretty quickly here in the month has given me some openness and a little bit of freedom, which I don't know what to do with. I may go back to Personal Sunshine. I might go back to Quick Stitch Once Upon a Fairy Tale, just to try to make things easier for me the next time that it gets called. So we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out. As I said, WIP Go calls are this week. I have to figure out what my husband's work schedule is. They may be going up a little early. They might not, so don't hold me to that. But nonetheless, this week, by Thursday at the latest, we will have our WIP Go calls for February. I saw that Colette, the Highway Stitcher, has made the sort of the announcement that full coverage February 2024 is on, and she posted what the acrostic is, and so I'm going to be playing with that. So that's very exciting. Seeing if I can make my projects fit for that. As I've mentioned previously, on the 10th, on Lunar New Year, I am having my Dragon New Start, for which I'm fairly certain is going to be Cherry Blossom Breezes by Heaven and Earth Designs. Artist is Carla Morrow. I'm fairly certain that's the plan for the 10th. The 29th, Leap Day, is the Leap Day Unicorn Sal Start Along. It's going to be a start along. So Leap Day Unicorn Sal, where I'm starting Sunflower House by Blackbird Design. So those are some things that if you want to join me in any of those things, maybe you can start planning and thinking about. I will probably mention them again in my next video, which I'm thinking is going to be this weekend. So stay tuned for that for further details, official hashtags and things like that. So I'm going to head off. I'm going to get this edited and posted for you all, and relieve my husband so he can go back to work. And so I will say happy stitching, everybody. As always, be kind, and I will see you in the next one.